everyone. Just a reminder before we start that all the information that you need for all these activities and more questions are on the email and coloring pages and all kinds of other things. And also remember that you can pause the video at any time. All right, so in the winter and the spring we do New Testament stories, and the summer and the fall we do Old Testament stories. So this is actually the first week of the summer stories. So most of you have probably finished school by now. Congratulations to you, and I hope you have a great summer. Our first story of the summer is about the prophet Elisha. So we ended in fall hearing about when Elijah went up to heaven and the chariot of fire, and he left behind Elisha, who was the next prophet. And Elisha had learned a lot from Elijah, and he went on to be a wonderful prophet of God as well. So that's where we're picking up today on our story. So the story is about, actually starts with a widow who is a lady whose husband has died, and she was very, very poor. And her husband, when he died, he owed some creditors, what they're called, lots and lots and lots of money. But she couldn't pay it. She had no way to pay the money. So she went to the prophet Elisha and she said, "Please, I need some help." And he said, "Do you have anything in your house?" And she said, "Well, I don't know. All I have is this little jar of oil, and there's only a little bit left." And Elisha said, "That's perfect. What I want you to do is go out and collect all the jars that you can from all your neighbors and bring them back to the house, close the door, and fill all those jars with olive oil." Wonder what she thought. Did she think, that's pretty strange? But we don't know exactly what she thought, but we do know what she did. So the woman started pouring. She watched as the oil kept going and going. Okay, that makes sense. But wait a second. That's more oil than she had. What was happening? Oh my goodness, get the next jar, get the next jar, get the next jar. And it kept going. And it kept going. Oh, get the next jar. And it kept going. And it kept going. And she told her boys, "Quick, bring me more jars. Bring me more jars." Wow. They were so scared at the beginning of this, but what was happening? All the jars were filling up. That one's full. Now this one. She filled it, and the oil kept coming until she was down to the last jar. And she filled it. What? And wow. It was a miracle. God made that olive oil fill all of the jars that she needed. And that woman, she went out and she sold all of her olive oil, and she had enough money to pay back the people that she owed money to. Wow, what a wonderful miracle. So that's the story of Elisha and the widow. At the beginning of the story, she was desperate, she was scared, because if she didn't pay that money back, her sons were going to be sold into slavery. And at the end of the story, she had faith. She went ahead and got those jars, even though the idea seemed crazy, and God performed a miracle through Elisha and filled all those jars with oil. What did that woman need? Well, she needed money to pay back her debtors. Katrina's going to come help me. And we're talking about the difference between needs and wants for our first activity. So most of you probably have received coupon books in the mail, so you can cut out coupons from that, or you could just collect objects from around the house. And you could see if you can figure out the difference between needs and wants. So you ready, Katrina?
Yes.
On your marks, get set, go.
Okay, this is a tractor. That is a want. KFC, that is food. We need food. Crock pot, that is a want. What is this?
Dentures. I threw that in for fun.
Dentures, that is a want. A blender, that is a want. You can use a mortar and pestle. Car, that is a want.
Oh, she's pretty tough, guys.
A bike.
That's
a motorcycle, that's a want.
Oh boy, there's not much left in the needs.
Toolbox, you don't need a toolbox. Food, yummy food. Starbucks, yes.
Dessert.
Flowers, we need flowers. Medicine, we need medicine. Bags, we don't need bags.
That represents money.
Oh, money, we don't need money.
Wow.
Actually, we do need money. In the modern day society, we do. Tires, no we don't. Sleeping, yeah, we need to sleep. Pizza, we need pizza.
Food.
Chairs. We don't need fancy chairs.
TV.
Netflix, we don't need, it's a want.
All right, thank you. So, there's some interesting things in there that could be debated if they're needs or wants. But this lady in the story, the widow in the story, would have only considered food and some money to get by and water as her needs. She didn't have anything else. So you can talk about this in your family, about the differences. Okay, so for a craft, you need either a piece of paper or you can print out the attachment to this email, and I recommend that if you can do that at all. It looks like this, and you only need one side. Otherwise, you can just draw a picture of a jar on a piece of paper. And then after you have the jar on the paper, you color it in, okay? And bright colors, if you have the printout, just do yellow or a light color over the verse, okay? Then, come in closer, you turn it over. And you take some olive oil, because that's what we're talking about today. And you dip the olive oil in you dip the cotton in the olive oil. And by the way, take a look at that verse. Look a little odd to you? Okay, so you dip it in the olive oil and you start kind of covering it like as if you're painting it. Whoa, there's a surprise. And there is your jar with your memory verse, now the right direction. Deuteronomy 10:18. He defends the cause of the fatherless and the widow and loves the foreigner residing among you, giving them food and clothing. All right, and you can talk about the surprise in this craft and the surprise that the widow got. All right, for our memory verse, I just read it to you. So I was thinking you could talk about the different parts of the memory verse, and the first one is he defends the cause of the fatherless. And you can put these on little pieces of paper. So I have Deuteronomy 10:18. Then he defends the cause. You can talk about what that means. Of the fatherless, and talk about, do you know anyone who is fatherless or maybe an orphan? I was thinking about this, and we have a lot of friends who are orphans in Morocco, and these are some of their pictures. So it's good if you have a picture in your mind when you're thinking about a verse. It makes it more personal. So God says he takes care of these kinds of kids. And the widow, well, my dad has died and Mr. Gerald's dad has died, so our moms are both widows. And the Bible says that God takes care of widows, and that's a real comfort to us right now because we can't even see them during this pandemic. So that's something that we really enjoy to read about. And it also says, and he loves the foreigner living among you. Do you know anyone who's from a different country who's living here that you've met? For us, we have a friend in Fayetteville named Ito, and she's from Morocco. So it's good if you can get some pictures in your mind. And then give them food and clothing. So when you have pictures in your mind of all these parts of the verse, you can practice saying it by moving the cards and saying each section. And then once you've said the whole verse, you can take one part out and see if you can say the verse without that. And then the next time you say it, you can take another part out, etc., until you have the verse memorized. All right, for our snack, we have the Big Dipper. And to do this in the Middle East, in Bible countries, it's very, very common to dip bread into olive oil. And this story is about olive oil. And you might be thinking, what's the big deal about olive oil? Well, they used it for cooking, they used it for medicine, they used it for all kinds of things. And so it was really important. So in my olive oil, I mixed a bunch of spices. I just opened the spice drawer and I put a whole bunch of things into it. And what you can do is experiment: garlic, salt, pepper, and you can take a little bit of bread and take a bite. Now, this is a really common breakfast in Morocco. Everybody has bread dipped in olive oil for their morning meal. So there's something you can do that goes with the story. And the last thing is our game, and we're going to go outside. Come on with me. Okay, so for our game, fill up a container of water, and you each will have a jar or a cup. And your goal is to fill up your pitcher as fast as you can. Are you ready, Katrina? On your marks, get set, go. Oh, wow! This is not looking good. You can pretend this is olive oil. Thankfully, it's not. Oh, she won. She won. She got it. All right. Well, that's the end of our story for today. The widow and Elisha, and how God provided all that she needed. So maybe you can think of someone this week who has a need that you can help. Bye.